welcome back to Lunchtime Yoga. I'm glad to be back with you guys live today. So we are going to start on our backs again, and if you would like a cushion for your head, you can put a pillow or a blanket or something comfortable for your head and just come down to your back. Maybe bring your feet a little wider than hips distance apart and let your knees rest in on each other, and just begin to really settle into the floor. So you can bring your hands to your low belly and just start to notice your breath. So become a little more intentional with your breathing. You don't need to manipulate or force it in any way. Just noticing, deepening the inhale, lifting the chest, expanding the belly on the inhale, and then lengthening the exhale, softening, allowing the body to just sink into the floor. And really just pay attention to your breath today. So notice if your breathing is shallow or ragged. Notice if it's smooth. Maybe it's much easier today to breathe. And then leave one hand on your belly and bring one hand to your heart. And as you're breathing, notice the flow of breath between the chest and the belly. Notice a wavelength sensation, or wave-like sensation in the breath. So inhaling, rising the chest up to the sky. Exhaling, sinking the low back into the floor, softening the belly. Inhale and exhale. And so I really encourage you to follow your own rhythm of breath. So you don't necessarily have to be matching my breath. Everyone breathes at a different pace and a different count. So really just pay attention to your own needs and the feelings that your body gets and the sensation of breathing for your own body. Today we're really going to focus on listening to your body. So continue that wave-like motion of breath. Inhaling up through the collarbones and the crown of the head. Exhaling, bring the breath down the spine, down to the low back. And then with both hands on the low belly, we're going to begin to move the pelvis and the low back just a little bit while we're breathing. So not a big exaggerated movement, but just a slight movement. So inhaling, we're arching the back and pushing the belly out towards the hands. So as you puff the belly up with air, pushing towards the hands, and then exhale and push the low back into the floor. So we're kind of doing a cat-cow, but while we're laying down instead of on hands and knees. So inhale, puff the belly up and arching the low back. And then exhale, pushing the low back into the floor, navel to the spine. And again, continue with your own rhythm of breath. So on the inhale, pushing the belly up into the hands. And then exhale, pushing the back into the floor. And we'll just let's do 2 more of those. Inhale and arch. Exhale, pushing into the floor. Inhale and arch. Exhale, pushing into the floor. And then release that. Bring your hands to the sides of you, palms facing flat to the floor. And then inhale, begin to bring the right arm up so the fingers are facing the sky. And then exhale, bring the back of the hand to the floor behind your head, as far as you can go, or to the floor if you're able. Inhale the arm back up and exhale back down. And then repeat to the left side. So inhale, fingers pointing towards the sky. Exhale, back of the hand to the floor. And you'll notice maybe one shoulder is a little tighter, so one is easier to bring to the floor than the other. Just notice. Inhale and exhale. And then bring both hands up together and exhale both hands behind you. Inhale both hands back up, and before you bring them down, turn the palms to face each other and then reach for opposite elbows and hold on. And then inhale and exhale, bring the hands over to, or the elbows over to the right. So really opening up the left shoulder here. The shoulder blade, the back of the shoulder, maybe even down into your ribs. Inhale back up to center and exhale over to the left. Stretching out the right shoulder this time. Keep breathing here. Inhale back up. And then this time we're going to bring the arms up to either the forehead or the crown of the head, whatever works best for you today. So maybe you have the range of motion, you can bring your elbows and your arms behind your head or towards the floor. Or maybe it feels better to just leave them at your forehead. Feel what's right today. Any of that works. And then separate the knees while your arms are like this. And bring the feet about mat distance apart. And then drop the knees to the right. Flex the left foot to protect your knee joint. Notice that your left knee tends to push towards the front of the mat here. So maybe exaggerate that just slightly, energetically drawing the left knee towards the front of the mat. Inhale back up to center and then drop the knees over to the left, flexing the right foot this time. Again, energetically drawing the right knee towards the front of the mat. Inhale back up, keep the knees where they are, and then bring the hands or the arms back up above the chest. Release the hands and then recross with the opposite arm in front. So probably your less habitual arm is in front this time. Inhale and exhale the arms over to the right again. Excuse me. Inhale back to center and exhale the arms over to the left. Inhale back to center and again bring the arms over to the forehead or above the head. Whatever feels best for you in this moment. And we'll do the same thing with the knees. So keeping the feet where they were on the edges of the mat. Inhale and exhale, drop the knees to the right, flexing the left foot again. Inhale back up to center, exhale over to the left, flexing the right foot. And then back to center, bring the arms back up and release back down. Take a breath here. And when you're ready, roll over to your right side, bringing your left hand to the floor. Stretch the left foot out and push into your left hand to come up slowly, making sure that the head arrives last and seated. And come into a seated pose with your knees bent here. If you do have a pillow or a blanket that you were laying on, maybe bring that under your hips if that's comfortable. We'll just do a few seated stretches next. So begin by inhaling the shoulders forward and up, exhaling back and down. So just rolling the shoulders. Inhale forward and up, exhale back and down. Inhale forward and up, exhale back and down. Inhale forward and up, exhale back and down. Bring the hands to the sides of you, palms facing up. Inhale the hands up, touch the palms above the head, exhale the hands to the heart center. And then point the fingertips away from the body and push the hands out in front of you, rounding the upper back and shoulders. And then inhale, open the hands out, lifting the chest. Exhale, bring the hands in front of you again, and inhale the hands back to the chest. Release the hands down. Turn the left palm to face the ceiling, and then inhale all the way up, reaching, and then walking the right hand over to the right and leaning over with your left hand, reaching out to your right diagonal. Keep breathing. And then this time we're going to kind of turn the ribs so that we're facing down towards the floor. So drawing your left hand down towards the floor and rotating. So think of rotating your rib cage here, rotating the arm so that you're reaching out towards the, 2 o'clock, I guess, if you're looking at a clock. Inhale back up. And then release the left hand down and repeat on the right. So inhale the right hand up, reaching out with your fingertips, and then walking the left hand out to the left. Reaching out with your right hand here. Trying not to hug the shoulders up towards your ears, just trying to kind of keep them down here. Inhale and exhale. And then rotating the ribs again. So you're bringing the right arm down towards, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock this time. Reaching out to the diagonal here. And then inhale back up. And release the right hand down. We'll do just a gentle twist here as well. So inhale the hands up, lengthen, and then bring the right hand behind you, left hand in front of you. Inhale and lengthen the body here. Exhale and soften into the pose. And then inhale the hands back up. Exhale and bring them over to the left. So the left hand is behind you, the right hand is in front. Inhale and lengthen the spine. Exhale and release and soften into the pose. Inhale the hands back up, palms touch, and then bring the hands back to the heart. This time we're going to go forward folding over our bent knees. So bring the hands in front of you and walk your hands out. So folding forward just like we do in standing, but this time just with seated. And then lowering the head towards the floor as best you can. This is our first forward fold, so you don't need to go, very far. You don't want to overdo here. Inhale and walk the hands back in, and then lean back just slightly and untuck, and then recross the legs with the opposite leg in front. Again, this might be the less habitual side, so the side that you don't typically go to when you sit and seated. So it might not feel as comfortable, and then walk the hands forward again. And walk the hands back in. And then we'll come into table pose. So move your blanket or cushion off to the side if you were using one. Come into table pose. We're going to keep our hands nice and open and wide here. Hands are directly under the shoulders, knees are directly under the hips, and feet are directly behind the knees. Inhale, exhale, empty the belly and arch the back up. So we're going into cat-cow just like we were doing on our backs. So we're arching the shoulder blades up, separating the shoulder blades, and then inhale, squeezing the shoulder blades together, melting the chest towards the floor. Exhale, arching the back, tucking the tail. Inhale, squeezing the shoulder blades, melting the chest. Exhale, empty the belly, gaze down at the knees or thighs. And then come back into stillness. Reach the right foot back behind you. So ball of the foot is on the floor. And just stretch out that hamstring here. So we're going to just really work on warming up those hamstrings now so we can get into our downward dog. So when you're ready, lift the foot up, toes pointing down towards the floor. Lifting the leg parallel to the floor. Bring the weight into the right hand and lift the left arm. So stay focused for balance. Find a point that is not moving to focus on. And then release the left hand down, release the right knee, and bring the left foot back. And again, just powering through that left heel, pushing out, stretching out that hamstring. And then lift the foot, toes pointing to the ground, leg parallel with the floor. Bring the weight into your left hand and reach out with your right. Keeping your core engaged, so your navel to the spine. Protect that low back. And then release the right hand, release the left knee. And then we're going to do what's called thread the needle. So turn the fingertips, the left hand fingertips, towards the right hand. Take your right hand and reach out and over to the side. And then reach the right hand under the left arm and bring your right cheek to your left hand. So hips are up in the air. If you want to go a little deeper, you can push into your left hand and draw the ribs back and open, or just stay here. This might be enough for you today. And then inhale, push into the left hand to come back up. And repeat on the other side. So the right hand is underneath the face. The fingertips on the right hand are facing the left. And then draw the left arm out and open. And draw the left hand under the right arm. Bring the left side of the face to the right hand. And keep breathing. Again, you can push into your right hand to draw back and go a little bit deeper into the pose. Or just stay here, that's great. Inhale and come back up. And then bring the big toes to touch and bring your knees nice and wide here to come into child's pose. If this is not a comfortable pose for you, you can always bring a block underneath your head or a blanket or cushion if you have it. Something to keep your head a little further off the ground. Child's pose is a great resting pose only if it's comfortable. So if this is not a comfortable position for you, feel free to skip this. And you can either go into like a half dog. So an alternative to child's pose when you're doing it in a class would be just to bring your hands in front of you and bring your hips towards your heels. So you do not have to come into a full child's pose if that's not comfortable for you. Take a couple deep breaths here, or in whatever pose you're in that's comfortable. And then come come back up into table, tuck your toes under, and begin to come into downward dog with bent knees. So rising the hips up to the sky, keeping the knees nice and bent, and then bringing the chest towards the thighs here. So extending through the hands, through the arms, drawing the upper arms down towards the floor, powering through the heels but keeping the knees bent. So you can maybe pedal out your legs if that's comfortable. So bending the left knee, straightening the right, bending the right, straightening the left, alternating back and forth. And then bend both knees, lift the heels high, lift the hips higher, and then bring the heels towards the floor, straightening those legs as best you can. Inhale, look up towards your hands. Exhale all the way out. And then walk the feet up to meet the hands and come into a standing forward bend. So again, your knees can be bent here. I always keep a slight bend in the knee because that's more comfortable for me. The main point is to relax the head into the pose. So allow your head to hang here. Allow your back to release into the pose. Bring your hands towards the floor. Take a couple deep breaths. Maybe even nod your head yes and shake your head no. And just really allow any tension that you're holding on to release out of the top of your head. Any worries or doubts or frustrations, anger, anxiety, anything that really is not necessary for you to have right now. And then when you're ready, bring your hands to your hips and begin to roll up to standing and come into mountain pose. So in mountain pose, I'm going to turn towards you guys so you can see me. I don't know why it always cuts me off here. So you want to find the midpoint of your feet. So sometimes I kind of just rock back and forth from my toes to my heels and just really feel the ground under your feet. So find the rooted, grounded position of your feet here. Try to separate the toes nice and wide. And then picture the outer leg line pushing down, rooting down into the floor, and the inner leg line is drawing up here into the pelvis. And then balance the pelvis by tucking the navel to the spine and dropping the tailbone down in between the heels. Roll the shoulders back and open and bring the fingertips to face the floor. And then inhale the hands up. Touch the palms into prayer hands. And then release the hands down into standing forward bend again. I'm sorry, I'm repositioning so that you can see me better. I just realized my back was to you. So I'm going to come up to this side of my mat here. And then step back into downward dog again. So this time we're pushing the heels down towards the floor as best we can. We're bringing the chest towards the thighs. And then begin to roll forward into plank. So feel free to come down on your knees for a plank here. And you're pushing against the floor with your hands and powering into your shoulders here. And then begin to release down onto the floor. And come down to your belly and then point the toes. Bring the hands to the low ribs and lift the chest, head, and shoulders into a low cobra. And then release back down. Tuck the toes back under, come back into table, and then back into downward dog. And then walk your hands or your feet back into your hands, come into standing forward bend, and release the head down. Bring your hands up to your shins and come into a flat back here, halfway lift. And then release back down to standing forward bend. And then from here, bend the knees and bring the left foot back, keeping the right foot in between your hands here. So the right knee is bent in front. And then release the left knee to the ground, point the left toes, and just come into a lunge here. So this is a low lunge. So you're coming into the right bent knee, really stretching out the front of that left thigh. So feel free if you do have blocks. I'm not going to demonstrate with blocks because I don't know how many people actually have them at home. But if you do have them, feel free. You can put them underneath your hands here to kind of lift up. And then come into the right knee here with your hands. So lifting the chest high here. And again, really feeling the stretch in that left thigh. Release the hands and draw the hands up and overhead. Reaching out, maybe gazing upward here. And then release the hands back down. Tuck the toes back under. Lift the left knee. And then we're going to step the left foot into a warrior one stance. So bring the left foot in just slightly. So shortening your feet width, I guess, between them. And then you're pointing the toes on the left foot towards like 10 or 11 o'clock. And then bring the right hand to your hip. Draw that right hip back. Bring the left hand to the hip. And then come all the way back up into warrior one. So the right knee is bent. The left leg is straight. Straight and strong. Release the hands and draw them up and overhead. Maybe gazing upward as well. Lifting here. So reaching out towards the sky. And then release the hands back down, pivot on the left heel, and then bring the right knee into the chest and draw the right leg back into three-legged dog or just come into regular downward dog, whatever feels best for you. And then look forward in between your hands, inhale and exhale, and then walk the feet forward between your hands, release into standing forward bend. Come up to your shins in a half lift here, flat back, and then release back down. Deepen the bend in the knees, bring the hands to the hips and come all the way up to standing into mountain pose. Inhale the hands up, touch the palms and bring the hands to your heart. I'm really sorry my camera's cut off. I don't know, I'm having a hard time with my camera. Hopefully you can see me okay. Exhale, bring the hands back down, release into standing forward bend. And then bring the right foot back to a lunge. So bending into that left knee here. And release the right knee down. Point the toes. Again, just bringing your weight into the right knee. Bring the right knee over the left knee, sorry. Bring the left knee over the left foot. And really just stretching out that front of the thigh. And again, if you do have blocks, you can use blocks here or come up on your fingertips and then make your way onto that front knee and breathe. Release the hands and draw them up and overhead, lifting the waist here. And then release the hands back down. Tuck the toes again, lift the right knee, and come into warrior one. So bring the right foot in just slightly. If you need to, you can reach back and bring it in with your hand. And again, you're just shortening the distance between the 2 feet. The toes on the right foot are pointing towards 2 o'clock here. Bring the left hand to the hip, draw that left hip in, and then bring the right hand to the hip and rise all the way up to standing. So the left knee is bent here. Release the hands up and over into warrior one. And then release the hands back down to the floor, pivot on the right heel, draw the left knee into the chest, and again, lift up into 3-legged dog if you want, or just release back to meet the right foot into downward dog. Feel free to rest in child's pose or move forward into a flow. So if you're coming forward into plank, you can come into full plank, or you can come into bent knee plank. So whatever works best for you, and then just lower down to your belly. And then bring the hands in front of you so the elbows are directly under the shoulders here, and we're coming into Sphinx Pose. The palms are flat to the floor in front of you. And just lift the chest here, so looking forward with the face. And then inhale, exhale, looking over to the right heel, coming into kind of a little twist here. And then come back to center and looking over to the left heel. And come back to center and then lower down. And we're just going to take a moment to breathe. So pillow your hands in front of your face here. So your hands are just right in front of your chest, in front of your face, and then lower the forehead down. And just breathe here. So notice the floor against your belly as you breathe. Notice the ribs expanding and softening on the exhale. Just reconnect with the breath here. That was what we were focusing on today, is the breath. And then when you're ready, lift the head and bring the hands over to the ribs. And then push back into table. And back up to downward dog. And then walk the feet forward into standing forward bend. Come up to a half lift, so hands to the shins. And then fold forward again. All right, so this time, bring the right foot behind you, and we're actually going to just walk the hands over to the long edge of your mat. So in this case, it's the right side of my mat, but whatever side is facing me is fine. So come to the long edge of your mat. So your feet are now pivoted to pointing towards the long edge of your mat. So your toes are pointing towards the long edge. And your feet are parallel. And just come into a forward fold here. So again, if you do have a block, feel free to bring that in front of you here, and allow yourself to really fold into the pose. You can bring your hands down to the mat flat. If you have the range of motion, you can bring your hands in line with your feet. And really just release the head, just like when we're standing with our feet together, release the head down. So allow the tension to come out of the neck and shoulders here. Really allow your low back to release. And then bend the right knee and feel the stretch along your inner left leg here. And then straighten the right knee and bend the left knee and feel the stretch along the right leg. And come back to center. Come halfway up first. So just come up on your fingertips here and come up to a flat back. Lengthening the spine here, so kind of lengthening out through the crown of your head. And then fold again, bringing the hands back down. Now bring your hands to your hips to come all the way up to standing. And then pivot on the right heel and bend into the right leg. So kind of bringing the left heel back slightly, bending into the right leg. Draw the hands up, parallel with the floor, and come into warrior two. Release the left hand to the left thigh and reach the right hand up and overhead into reverse warrior. And then touch warrior two again and come into extended side angle. So bending the right elbow, bringing the right arm to the right knee, and then sweeping the left arm up and overhead. Come back up with the left hand back into warrior two, and then straighten that right knee. Bring the left hand to the left hip, and then begin to face the right palm away from you, and begin to draw the hand forward before folding over. So really lengthening here as best you can, and then folding over the right leg, coming into a triangle pose. So you can bring your hand towards your shin, or if you have a block handy and you want to bring that behind your foot, whatever works best for you, and then reaching the arm up and overhead with the left. Bend the right knee and come back. Bring your hands to your hips, pivot on the right heel, and then pivot on the left heel and come into the left knee. So bending the left knee, bringing the hands up into warrior two, looking over the left hand, and then releasing the right hand to the right thigh, and the left arm up and overhead, reverse warrior. Bending the left arm and bringing the left arm to the left knee and reaching up and overhead with your right hand. Inhale and come all the way back up into warrior two. Straighten the left leg, bring your right hand to your right hip, and then face the left palm away from you. And again, reaching out before folding over, reaching out with the left hand, and then bring the left hand to either the shin or behind you with a block. So whatever works best. Opening up the right shoulder and reaching the arm up and overhead. Keep your neck neutral here if that's best for you, or you can look up to your hand, whatever feels best for your neck and shoulders. And then bend into the left knee and come back into warrior two. Straighten and pivot on the left, and then walk the feet back in. Come to the back of your mat. We're going to work our way back down to our backs. So bring your feet wider than hips distance, so about the width of your mat. And then bring the hands behind you and clasp your hands here. So drawing the shoulders open, clasping the hands behind you. And then begin to roll forward, So hinging at the hips here, fold forward over your feet, dropping the head down and drawing the arms behind you, drawing the hands up towards the ceiling. And then release the hands first to the low back, and then bring them down to the floor and bend into your knees. So coming down into kind of a squat, this is called Garland Pose. So you can bring your hands to the floor in front of you. You can bring your hands into a prayer hands, and kind of just bringing your elbows to the insides of your knees and pushing against your knees here. So take a breath here. Feel the opening of your hips here. And then release the hands back to the floor and come down to your mat. And then just kind of crawl forward and come down to your back as best, whatever works best for you. So kind of slowly rolling down to your back here. And we'll start with knees bent again, and then just bring the right knee into the chest to start. So notice that when you bring your knee into your chest, that your back, sort of settles further towards the floor. So really try to release the low back now. Allow it to just sink into the floor as best you can. And then release the right hand or the right foot down. And bring the left foot into the chest and hug it in. And release the left foot down. And then bring the right knee up again and bring the right ankle to the left knee and hug the left knee into the chest again. So you should feel a nice stretch on the back of the right thigh, the right hip, maybe even the left leg. Keep breathing. Notice any areas of tension that you're still holding on to. And release the left foot back down. And then before you uncross, bring the right foot over to the floor on your left side. And then releasing the left knee to the floor as well. Inhale back up. Uncross the right ankle and bring the left ankle to the right knee and draw the right knee into the chest. Breathe here. And release the right foot and then bring the left foot over to the right. Bringing the right knee to the floor. Inhale back up. Release the left foot back down. Stretch the legs long and then bring the arms up and overhead as well. And just do a full body stretch here. So lengthening the waist. Feeling the sides really stretch out. And then begin to walk your feet over to the right and walk your hands over to the right and come into kind of a C shape or a banana shape, as some people like to call it. So you're reaching out with the left heel and the left hand. Really lengthening that left side here. And then come back to center, so walk the feet slowly back in, walk the hands back in, and then begin to walk the feet over to the left Reaching out with the right foot this time, and reaching out with the right hand towards the left here. Again, lengthening the right side this time. And then walk the hands and feet back in. Bend the knees again, feet flat to the floor. Bring the hands to the sides. And we're going to come into a bridge pose here. So push the feet into the floor and draw your hips up towards the ceiling. So you should have your chest nice and puffed out here so the shoulders are open. The chest is coming up towards the sky as well. Shoulder blades are squeezed together in the back. Palms are flat to the floor. And then slowly roll down one vertebra at a time, bringing your hips back down to the floor. And take a breath here in neutral. Draw the knees into the chest and hug them in. And then maybe just rock back and forth, massage out the low back here. And then maybe circle the knees around. And reverse that circle. And then come back to center. And if there's any pose that you like to do at the end of your practice, feel free to do that now, and we'll set up for Shavasana. So find whatever's comfortable for you that you like to lay in for Shavasana. Maybe lay flat on your back, or you can bring a blanket underneath your, like you can roll your blanket and bring that underneath your knees, or you can bring a blanket under your head if that's more comfortable. Feel free to cover up to stay warm. And if you're not familiar with Shavasana, it's what many people in my training have deemed the most important pose of the whole practice. So we really encourage everyone to stick around for Shavasana. It's the final resting pose, loosely translated as a corpse pose, which for the tradition of yoga and where it originated, that's sort of ultimate freedom. So you've worked your body out completely, and now you're able to rest and really just be. Oftentimes, yoga was used as the yoga that we know, which is the asana, was used as, the physical exercise in order to get to a point of meditation. So for Shavasana, it's a position of, complete and utter relaxation. So get comfortable on the floor. I'm going to remain seated, but please lay down at your leisure. You may also lay on your side if that's more comfortable, whatever works best for you. So your legs can be long or bent. And just begin to really allow your body to drop into your mat. So begin to release any residual tension that remains in your body. So feel the tension release from your feet and all your toes. Just let it drain into the floor. Notice your ankles softening. Release your shins and your calves into the floor. Release your knees. Notice your thighs melting into the floor. Release the hamstrings and the glutes. Release the pelvis. Notice the low back sinking further into the floor. Release the belly and inner organs. Release the rib cage. Release the upper back and the shoulder blades. Notice the tension just melt from the shoulder blades. Let it just drain into the floor. Release the chest, sternum, solar plexus. Maybe take a big breath at the solar plexus and sigh out all the tension that you're holding on to there. Release the shoulders, the upper arms and the elbows. Release the forearms and the wrists. And then touch your thumb to each of your individual fingers and notice that your thumb maybe go back a couple times. So down to the pinky and then back to the forefinger. And just release the tension. Take the thumb away from the fingers and just allow your hands to soften here. Release the neck and the throat, the jaw, the tongue, and the soft palate. Let go of holding. Release the ears and all the facial muscles. Release the scalp. Notice all the tension in the head just melting into the floor, draining out from your mind. Allow yourself this moment just to be, just to feel, just to rest. Sometimes I think it's easy to get frustrated at our thoughts that come into our mind when we're in a state of rest or meditation or relaxation. In mindfulness, which is very closely related to the yoga that we just did, we remind everyone that our thoughts will come and go regardless. We don't have to push them out or expect that we will completely wipe our minds clean. But we allow them to just pass through like clouds. Or more fittingly for the country right now is the snow. So imagine that the thoughts are falling into your mind and out of your mind, just like the snow has been falling outside. And begin to deepen your breath and come back into the room here. Maybe reach your arms up above you for a gentle full body stretch. When when you're ready, you can roll over to your right side and take your time here. Take a breath. Tuck your chin down towards your chest as you come up to seated. So don't jump up too fast, just allow yourself to come up slowly. And then when you're ready, just bring your hands to the sides of you, palms facing up. Inhale the hands up, touch the palms above the head. Exhale, bring the hands to the heart. Lower the head to meet the heart. Thank you so much for being with me today. I hope you're able to take this feeling and this awareness with you throughout your day. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.